President Trump's trip to Tokyo was brimming with pomp and pageantry.
The First Lady and I will never forget this gracious invitation.
But no red carpet could hide the sharp divide between the two leaders when it came to North Korea.
You're not bothered at all by the small missiles?
No, I'm not. I am personally not.
Putting him squarely at odds with his national security advisor, John Bolton, and one of America's closest allies in Asia, who both agree that North Korea's recent missile tests violate UN resolutions.
My people think it could have been a violation, as you know. I view it differently. I view it as a man, perhaps he wants to get attention, and perhaps not. Who knows? It doesn't matter.
But it does matter to Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe.
This is violating the Security Council resolution.
The president is holding out hope Kim Jong-un will eventually denuclearize North Korea.
He is a very smart man. He gets it well.
And viewing it all through the lens of a real estate developer.
It's located between Russia and China on one side and South Korea on the other. And it's all waterfront property.
The president is also refusing to back off his endorsement of Kim Jong-un's criticism of his potential 2020 opponent, Joe Biden.
Kim Jong-un made a statement that Joe Biden is a low IQ individual. He probably is, based on his record. I think I agree with him on that.
Trump brushing off concerns he's siding with a brutal dictator over a former American vice president.
I can tell you that Joe Biden was a disaster. His administration with President Obama, they were basically a disaster when it came to so many things.
Now, the president flatly disagreed with his national security advisor, John Bolton, during that press conference and his assessment of North Korea. But when the president was walking out and he was asked, do you still have confidence in John Bolton? He said yes, that he did. But Erica, we should note John Bolton was not present at the banquet last night with the emperor.
Kaitlan Collins live from Tokyo for us. Kaitlan, thank you. And now let's take a deeper dive. Mehdi, as we look at this, there is the question of the message, of course, that this sends. You have the president standing next to a leader who is supposed to be an ally, siding with North Korea's dictator. Mehdi, what is that message?
The message is that Donald Trump, once he likes you as a foreign dictator, and once you flattered him, he will have your back. This is a guy who's always been very loyal to people who flatter him and will throw anyone under the bus the minute they don't. And I think the North Koreans, like the Saudis, like the Russians, they worked that out a while ago. This is how you get to Donald Trump. And you have Donald Trump saying these kind of, you saw just now in that tape, he says, I think he's a very, very smart man, at the same time as he accuses the former vice president of the United States of being low IQ. And I know we've played this game before, but can you imagine if Barack Obama in 2011 had said, oh, the Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran thinks Mitt Romney's low IQ and I'm totally with him. The Republicans wouldn't just be demanding impeachment, they'd be calling him a traitor and demanding execution.
You're right, we have played that game before. And yet, here we are again. What's fascinating, though, is as we listen to each of these in their own words, and I want to play a short part of what President Trump said about Kim Jong-un. Take a listen to this.
I view it as a man, perhaps he wants to get attention, and perhaps not. Who knows? It doesn't matter.
Mary Catherine, does it matter?
Yes, it matters a lot. And this, to me, this week is Trump playing into every argument that 2020 candidates will make against him on the Democratic side in the most perfect way. You've got immaturity, you've got volatility, and one that is particularly concerning to me and always has been is the possibility of foreign policy via tweet. By somebody who is impulsive and who doesn't make great decisions and who often doesn't have a real tuned moral compass when it comes to dictators, right? So this is a real problem, and it's a problem that he and Bolton aren't on the same page and that he's talking about that in public overseas. And by the way, the Pelosi stuff is stateside political pugilism, and you can say it's out of bounds in certain ways. Overseas on Memorial Day weekend, it's just wrong, man.
It is. You can't ignore the timing on it, Mary Catherine, and you are absolutely right. You did bring up, though, John Bolton, and we heard from Kaitlan. It was Pamela Brown who asked, actually, at the press conference if the president still had confidence in Bolton. He said yes. Ron, though, do you think this relationship is in danger here?
Well, look, I mean, they were never on the same page ideologically to start with. And so, I'm not sure that this really changes that dynamic very much. I mean, what to me, and everyone kind of runs out their string with Trump. I mean, there's no one who works for him who doesn't share the last name, who has kind of like extended tenure. I mean, to me, the real point of this week was to underscore the dynamics of the relationship between Trump and the North Korean dictator. I mean, the president has gone so far out on a limb in insisting that his personal relationship is what can untie the Gordian knot that frustrated, so many previous presidents from Clinton on, that he is in a position where he has to make this work. And I think what the North Koreans realize is how much leverage that gives them, because Trump because of his desire to show that he alone can solve this, is going to bend over backwards, as he demonstrated again this week, to forgive almost anything the North Koreans do. I think there's no question, who is the pursuer and who is the pursued at this point in this negotiation.
Well, Ron, to your point, too, that really puts in context what we heard from the president in terms of Joe Biden. I'll just play it again for folks who may have missed it.
Kim Jong-un made a statement that Joe Biden is a low IQ individual. He probably is, based on his record. I think I agree with him on that.
Sarah, that's a stunning statement for a number of reasons. But in some ways, it's not all that shocking that we're hearing it coming from the president.
I mean, I think it still is a stunning statement because this is Kim Jong-un we're talking about. I mean, we're not talking about, the French president thinks that this of Joe Biden, and I agree with the French president. I mean, this is Kim Jong-un. But on the other hand, it's not surprising in the sense that President Trump doesn't think about the things he's saying as sort of, what does this mean for the presidency? What does this mean broadly for diplomacy? What message am I sending as the president of the United States, agreeing with the leader of North Korea over, his view of a former vice president? He thinks, oh, great, Kim Jong-un is on my team. We both agree that, Joe Biden is a low IQ individual. How great to have another person in my corner. And President Trump, and this was true when he was a candidate too, doesn't really care who you are or what you believe or what you think or what you've done in the past, as long as you are supporting him and you are vocal in that support. And that is one of these things that has not changed about him.
Also, I would say as an ally, it doesn't, as the ally of the Japanese, it doesn't help for them to sort of flaunt the fact that, we're much further away from the North Koreans, so we don't have, I'm not super concerned about it. Well, of course Japan's concerned about it. They're right there, guys. I mean, not helpful.
In the flood of daily kind of outrages and controversies from Trump, there are very few that I can imagine making it all the way to 2020. But this, as Mary Catherine was saying before, this so encapsulates the arguments that you're going to hear from Democrats against them that I could imagine this being, especially if Biden is the nominee, Biden using this to kind of really kind of encapsulate the case against Trump, that he is willing to, that he is so focused on his own interest above the national interest that he's willing to give credibility to a brutal, murdering foreign dictator in order to score a temporary political point against an opponent at home. I think this is something that's actually going to last, and we will hear about it in the general election of 2020.